Hey guys, this is Leeza. So recently I discovered my first gray hair. And even though I like to think of myself as someone who's always thought that society's ageism against women is ridiculous, when you actually discover the first signs of aging yourself, regardless of how evolved you are in your head, I have got to admit it is a weird ass feeling. So I wanted to talk about that today. As a kid, it seems like this abstract thing that's never actually going to happen to you. You know, like old people feel like another species and you just somehow don't think you're ever going to become old. And literally up until the point I discovered my first gray hair, I think I still felt like that was just never going to happen. Somehow, as a very young person, when you think about aging, it's like this theoretical thing, you know, thinking about your first gray hair is kind of like thinking what life would be like if you had wings or if donuts just fell from the ceiling. You think of it as like an interesting possibility, but you also feel like it's never really going to happen. But that shit changes really quickly when you hit your late 20s. I think I realized pretty fast that I better prepare for my best grandma life. But I couldn't have predicted that that's how I would react when I got my first gray hair. I plucked it out. I remember the moment so clearly. I was like brushing my teeth in the bathroom and I just pulled my hair back so I could get it away from my face, and I noticed this white hair like standing so defiantly against the rest of my hair, which is pretty dark. And I remember being so shocked, and before I could even think about it, like my reflex action was to just pull it out. It was such a weird feeling. And I guess that in a sort of primal way, your first gray hair is like this first reminder of your own mortality. And so I get that. Like as a young person, you constantly feel like you're invincible. And then suddenly this sort of thing like signals that, you know, time is finite and you are going to grow old and you are going to die. So I kind of understand why like I responded so viscerally to it, but I still think it's kind of bizarre that I just plucked it out like that, because in a way I feel like at that moment, I thought that if I plucked it out, we could just pretend it never happened. The thing about gray hair though, is that if there's one, there's probably a couple more. And pulling them out isn't gonna change anything. This whole episode though really made me reflect on how much pop culture and society has made us internalize this idea that beauty is associated with youthfulness and that aging is bad and that we should fear and conceal any signs of aging, even though they're perfectly natural. Like I suddenly just started to pay more attention to how we talk about this stuff. And you know, I've heard people, even women, say about other women if they don't color their hair, like, oh, so-and-so doesn't look after herself, or she always looks so unkempt, or she's lazy about her appearance. You know, that's the way we talk about women who don't conceal physical signs of aging. Women tend to be described in either of two ways, like either they have to look young and sexy with no gray hair, or then they have to look old and like a grandma and kindly, completely desexualized with all gray hair. Like the transition phase and the natural process of aging that most women have to go through between being young and then growing old, that has to just be obliterated. You can either choose one or the other, you know? And I felt like that was such an unnatural way for us to feel like we need to evolve. Society makes women feel like either their sexuality and appearance is their most important asset, or they're over the hill and have no chance left and are completely devoid of any sexuality. And I feel like we have to unlearn that stuff. That is such bullshit. I feel like it should be a choice rather than a compulsion. Women should have the choice to let their bodies age naturally and embrace the changes that come with time, rather than feeling this pressure to conform to a certain beauty ideal. And I feel like as long as it's a choice, that's fine. People can do whatever they like. You know, if you want to color your hair, but rather than feeling like that's the only option, if you don't do that, then there's, you know, something wrong with you, or you're lazy or unkempt. I feel like that's a really limiting and unfortunate kind of binary to feel like we have to conform to as women. So full disclosure, obviously I have highlights, I wear makeup, and I enjoy this stuff, but I also have as much fun washing all the makeup off, putting my hair in a top knot and sitting in my pajamas and feeling comfortable and beautiful that way, even if a few gray hair are showing. So I thought for myself, whatever choices I make with regard to dealing with aging, I'd hope that I'd make them purely for my own pleasure, whether it's coloring my hair or using makeup a certain way or dressing a certain way. I really want to make a conscious decision to ensure that they remain choices, that they remain things I do for myself and because I enjoy and get pleasure from doing them, rather than something that I do because I feel a pressure to look younger. So obviously it's taken me a while to get to this conclusion. Like when I discovered the gray hair, I flipped out and had a meltdown and like got all concerned about the fact that I was growing old. But when I look back, I really think I have never been more comfortable in my skin than I am today. Like compared to my early 20s, right now at 28, I have a level of confidence that I'd never experienced before. I feel more at terms with my flaws and imperfections than I ever have. And I'm just happy with who I am. And that is a beautiful feeling, you know? And so if I could rewind and sort of react to that discovery of my first gray hair, instead of plucking it out, I would have bought myself a cake and celebrated. Because when you think about it, what is aging? It's just an indication that you're living life. It's like the reflection of all your experiences and all the growth and learning and evolution that's taking place in your mind and heart and soul and body. And that is a natural and beautiful thing. So instead of fearing aging and feeling this need to conceal it and like, you know, dreading this obligation of looking younger, I really wanted to try and make it a goal for myself, and hopefully it'll help other people going through this as well, to get comfortable with the process and think of it as just an inevitable and wonderful part of life. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and please share it. And as always, I would love it if you subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time.